world. Welcome to the first episode, and most likely the only episode, of Conservatives Explaining Stuff. I'm your host, Josh Kaufman. And look, as a conservative, I can understand how confusing and scary the world can be, which is why this show is dedicated to explaining these confusing things to conservatives. On this episode, we will be discussing marijuana. I'm sure you've heard of it, but since you're listening to this show, you might not have. Marijuana, also known as grass, chronic, tree, blue cheese, cannabis, dank stank, and grandma's stash, is a psychoactive drug from the cannabis plant used for medical and recreational purposes. What I'm going to do with this very short episode of Conservatives Explaining Stuff is give you the story that they're not telling you on those mainstream news media networks. There are many misconceptions with marijuana, and we're going to clear that all up today. Misconception number 1. No one has died from smoking weed. I can tell you for a fact that this is not true. In late December 2002, 3 individuals were shot and killed at gunpoint in a robbery gone wrong. One of the 3 victims was high while trying to buy $45 worth of snacks. High on what, you ask? You guessed it, marijuana. Misconception number 3. You can still be productive and smoke weed. Again, wrong. You see this man right here? He smokes weed, and he is lazy, unimaginative, brain-dead, deadbeat who can barely make it day to day due to his addiction and dependency. If there are kids out there listening to this is what will happen to you if you smoke weed. Stay in school. Misconception number 3. Weed is better for you than drinking. This is my favorite misconception because the science seems to be in on this. I, for example, have been drinking every day for 30 years, and besides my high blood pressure, cardiomyopathy, and destructive behavior, I have had almost no issues with drinking. Marijuana, on the other hand, is a drug, and you should never do drugs. Duh. Stick to caffeine, sugars, Advil, aspirin, antidepressants, Tylenol, tobacco, and yes, of course, alcohol is okay, as long as you just do not do drugs. Now that we've cleared up these basic misconceptions about marijuana, I would like to introduce you and welcome Kylie Cruz, Chief Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Agency. Ms. Cruz, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Josh. I'm a big fan of the show.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Please tell me what you do at the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Well, I'm glad you asked. As the Chief Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Agency, I work day and night to stop criminal drug users. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you, have you ever met a pothead?
No, Ms. Cruz, I have not.
Well, let me tell you, they are the most obnoxious, rowdy, and aggressive group of people you'll ever meet. The brilliance of the Nixon administration, which started the War on Drugs effort, has been a complete and massive success. We arrest more than 1.3 million people a year for drug possession, stopping them from getting a good job, and in some cases, if you're poor and cannot afford a lawyer, we throw you in jail too. All this for the small cost of $59 billion a year. It's a steal if you ask me.
Wow, Ms. Cruz, it seems you and the DEA are doing the job that needs to be done, and I'm glad it has been so successful. So, what's the best part about being a DEA agent?
Oh, hands down, it's the drugs. You will not believe the free stuff we get to try. Extremely good weed.
Ms. Cruz, you know we're live on the air right now, right?
What?